Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Allie and welcome to the top comment where I read and react to insane internet chaos in the form of Reddit stories. So if you like this type of content, please don't forget to subscribe. It is totally free and it means a lot to me. For those of you who are returning subscribers, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for allowing me the couple of week break that I've had. It was definitely much needed and I just appreciate your continued support. You guys are amazing. For those of you who are new here, welcome. Welcome everybody. We have a very special episode today. As you can see, we have our very first guest. This is my dad. And I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, top comment viewers. This is Dave McAvoy, otherwise Allie's dad, and my good buddy Roman, who's coming back home with me.
Your grand dog.
Exactly. So I'm thrilled to be on the top comment. By background, I'm a lawyer, do international food and drug and environmental law, climb mountains, run deserts, and I think we're going to have a fun show tonight. We've got different genders, we've got different generations, different perspectives, and so let's have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get right on into it. All right, so today's episode, our theme is Father Knows Best, because as he will tell you, he always knows best. All right, so we have 6 stories today. The theme is Father Knows Best. You guys are going to get to know my dad a little bit today because as we go along these stories, I'm sure you'll figure out exactly why I picked them for you. They are curated and amazing. So first story comes from r/AITAH, which means we are going to be judging. I am relinquishing my judging duties for the day and handing it on over to my dad here.
This is appropriate as a lawyer.
It is, very much so. You're going to be the judge. So this person wants to know if they are an a-hole for what they did.
Okay.
So it says, am I the a-hole for refusing to return a dog that I adopted to his original owner? About a little over a year ago, I went through probably the worst time in my adult life. I was engaged and I found out my fiance was cheating on me. I was living in a condo he owned, and even though he wanted to try and make things work, I couldn't do it, so I left and moved home temporarily. Moving home at 32 wasn't in my plans, and it took a toll on me mentally and emotionally. I was sad, embarrassed, and my mental health wasn't good. Fortunately, I have supportive parents and an awesome job that let me take a leave, and I got my mental health back to at least stable. For quite a while, eating and sleeping were a major struggle, and finding motivation also wasn't great. After a lot of therapy and tough work, I started to feel somewhat human again, but still very much sad. I found an apartment, and I had been considering adopting a pet. I talked it over with my therapist, and she told me that she thought it would be good for me to look into. I went to a local rescue thinking I would find a puppy I could raise and care for. What I didn't expect was finding an older dog, he's 7, who had been given up when his owners were expecting a child. He was so sad and honestly a bigger breed than I was thinking, but I grew up with dogs and I love them. The woman at the rescue told me of his backstory and how the owner had him prior to getting married, and then the wife wanted the dog gone because she felt he wouldn't be safe around her baby. He had no history of aggression and it just seemed timid and depressed. I instantly connected with this dog. We went for a walk and I knew I would be taking him home with me. That was almost 10 months ago, and I honestly have to say we have made each other's lives dramatically better. I cook for him, we watch movies, he is amazing a motivation for me to get out and walk every day. I have human friends, of course, but this dog is my bestie and I can't imagine not having him. This brings us to the issue at hand. Apparently the people who surrendered him realized that the wife forcing the dog out is now a mistake. They've contacted the rescue, who in turn have contacted me. I was absolutely floored that they would even ask me if I was willing to speak to his ex-family. Apparently there is something where pregnant women become fearful or whatever of animals. The husband never wanted to give the dog up, but it was an ultimatum that the wife gave. I told them there was no way I would be willing to traumatize my dog or give him back to the people that just tossed him away. I feel like the fact that they were even asking this upset me, because animals aren't just something you toss away or whatever and then get to change your mind at your earliest convenience. I asked them not to contact me again and blocked the rescue on social media because I was afraid his old owner would find me there. I can't imagine being pressured to give up someone like a dog you had for years, but I feel like this isn't my problem. Losing him would be horrible for both of us. I feel like we found each other for a reason. Am I being selfish or am I in the right here?
That's a fascinating story.
Do you know why I picked this?
I do know why you picked it, because we have a dog, a hound dog beagle named Bennett, who you found abandoned for weeks on what we have in Indianapolis, the Monon Trail. And he was frightened, and you brought him home, and you told our mom that you found a small dog and made the photo really small when he's like 60, 70 pounds.
I'll put the picture up here. I still have it.
So when you were reading the story initially, I was thinking, okay, this lady's an a-hole, but I changed my mind during the story here. So I see it in two different ways. As you know, when you brought Bennett home, it was in the moment. And we didn't know for sure whether he had been intentionally abandoned, which I think is the cruelest of all things, or whether or not by being a goofy hound dog, which he is, he had escaped. And someone was looking for him. So we went out with the family, even though we began to love him immediately and were concerned about his well-being, but we did everything in order to find that owner. Walking back and forth, putting up signs, going by the apartment complexes and all of that. Never found an owner. Interestingly, he had a chip. The chip was turned off. So we did everything in our power, and now we've had him like 7 to 8 years.
That's been a long time.
And so that's a different thing when it's abandonment. Now, in this particular situation, the family decided that they wanted to move the dog away. They
intentionally gave him up to the shelter because the wife was pregnant and gave him an ultimatum.
Exactly.
She basically said it's you or the dog. And in that case, I would pick my dogs. I would never pick anybody over my dogs. I'd be like, okay, bye. I just think it's ridiculous, personally.
I agree with you, but it's interesting because they made an intentional choice based off their family situation, and as you know, I want to clone Bennett, and I'm the only one in the family who wants to do it. And so he is a member of the family. I can't imagine giving up the dog.
No, it would be heartbreaking.
But in this case, it's really difficult because now you have two families that love this this wonderful creature. I think they intentionally gave the dog up for adoption. It would be a different story if perhaps it was a week later or 2 weeks later, and they had a good excuse with regard to it. But how do you know that they're not going to put the dog back, traumatize the dog, and then the wife decides she wants to give it up again?
Well, it sounds like they got a divorce, and it sounds like he left, and that's why he wants his dog back. He made that decision, and then he waited for 10 months to be able to get the dog back. So I don't think she's the a-hole either. You clearly don't. So we're going to go ahead and see what the people of Reddit have to say. The judge has spoken. Maybe they allow
visitation to the dog.
No, hell no. Screw this guy. Screw this guy. This guy needs to go get another dog. He lost his dog. He lost the privilege of having his dog. He does not deserve that dog.
I agree. I'm with the person that's got the dog.
Yeah. All right, so the top comment on this one says, not the a-hole. I used to work as a vet/groomer. A dog came in for a groom. It turns out she went into bloat, stomach flipped and twisted. This is a death sentence without treatment. The owners were called in, but they didn't want to treat or even come see her. They opted for euthanasia. A receptionist that had this dog for years offered to take her, foot the bill for surgery on the condition that the dog now belongs to the receptionist. The owners said, whatever, sure. Receptionist rushes dog to the emergency vet. Surgery goes well. Receptionist spends days sleeping on the floor with the dog while it recovers from surgery. The old dog's rich-ass mom calls the veterinary practice owner, saying that the old dog owner regretted giving up the dog and wants it back. Vet practice owner forced the receptionist to give back the dog and refund the receptionist for the surgery. The receptionist is literally heartbroken and sobs at work for days. I will never forgive the vet practice owner for disregarding the receptionist's time and emotions so much and giving the dog back to the people who wanted it euthanized. Keep your dog. They don't have a legal leg to stand on. That's brutal. People are so mean. People are so mean.
That's a
I
worse
can't stand it when
situation.
people are mean to dogs. It's like any animals and kids. They're the most innocent of all the innocent.
Or
like,
mean to the receptionist. That's the worst
horrible.
situation than the
Absolutely
other situation.
Horrible.
Absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
The vet's wrong.
Yep.
This prima donna family that wants to just treat the dog as a commodity and not even a life, and we think they're almost like humans anyway.
They are.
Actually,
they are my
they're
children.
Not like humans.
They are my biological children.
They're better than humans because they love you unconditionally. And here you've got, I can even see this lady. She's got big high heels, sequins, and it's all about herself. That's all it is.
You say that as you're holding a sparkly gavel.
Exactly. She should not have the dog, but the vet shouldn't have done this.
No.
I would sue the vet.
I would too.
I'm a lawyer.
100%.
I would sue the vet.
Yep.
And I would sue to get that dog back.
Yeah, that's horrible. I can't even imagine.
I definitely.
I would be so traumatized if somebody tried to take my dogs away from me. There's no way.
And I'm worried about the dog.
I know. Because then what are they going to do? They're going to take it to another vet that's like, oh, they know that this one cares too much.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's not good.
No, awful.
I'd use this on that lady.
Yeah, right. I've said that before. I'm like, take it and just boop.
I think we're making Roman nervous here.
Oh, no, Roman's loving this. He's just laying on my lap. He's such a sweet boy. He missed us while we were at the concert tonight. We went to go see Lindsay Sterling, and she was incredible.
Yeah, she's
absolutely
incredible.
Amazing. Accompanied by the Colorado Symphony Orchestra. I mean, she was so good. It was a phenomenal show. He just missed us while we were gone. All right. The next comment says, I'm shocked the rescue even contacted you about it. Normally, they just tell the old owners sorry and they go about their day. They should have shut that down and not bothered you about it. Yeah, I'm really surprised they called too. Because imagine... Why would they do that? They should have just said, I'm sorry, your dog has been adopted and have a nice day. And then he can go get another dog. He doesn't need his dog back. His dog probably doesn't even want to go back to him. He's probably, if that dog sees that guy again, he's probably going to be afraid of him. When I first adopted Lance, all three of my dogs are rescues, but Lance is like the most traditional rescue because he came from a shelter.
Tried to escape from you.
Yeah, oh my God, multiple times. He used to be a little hellion. But I was concerned kind of the same thing that, like, what if somebody just truly lost him and they took him to the shelter too soon? But then I kind of got over it because it was like, this is literally my dog. Like, this is meant to be my dog. Like, he got to the shelter just an hour or so before I did. He was the right size. I could only have a small dog back in the house I was living at, and he's my buddy ever since. He, on a different story, came from a homeless man in Indianapolis.
I didn't know that. From a homeless man?
Yeah.
Was he working for the homeless man?
No, I had my serving apron on. I was coming out of Bakersfield one day, and he was just chilling by the side of the road. Yeah, he ended up getting $200 out of me for Roman. That was what I had in my serving apron. I just worked a shift. I just made so much money, and then this little guy came along. And then Joopy came along because she would crawl under my yard out in the valley where I used to live, and she would eat all my dog food. And so I asked the lady, I'm like, do you even care about this dog? And she's like, no. Mom just had puppies and you can have her. I was like, all right, sweet. So they've all come from eclectic places, and then I saved my fish from a bowl at Petco.
I know. Dog generates
He's a space
warmth.
heater.
He's a superpower.
He is. He's being such a sweet boy right now. He wanted to be up here so bad.
Until he hears about all these dogs getting abandoned.
You, baby. You never get abandoned. All right, the last comment on this one says, not the a-hole. You raised the dog for 10 months. He's yours. That's like me buying a used Xbox and a year later the owner asking for it back. All right, so verdict is not the a-hole.
No,
you enjoy your dog. You're a great person, OP. I support you. I think that adopting an animal is amazing, and I'm glad it's helping your mental health, and I couldn't agree more. Having these guys is definitely what keeps me going some days.
Yeah, on this one, you're in the right. You're in the right.
All right. Moving along to our next story. We're also going to be judging on this one as well, because this also comes from AITAH. And it says, am I the a-hole for asking my husband's Italian friend to cook for herself and told her I would not eat her food?
That's crazy.
My husband's friend flew in from Italy a week ago, and as much as I tried, I could not make her happy with any type of home cook or even restaurants in Melbourne. Took her out to restaurants. We wanted to introduce her to the variety of food we have. No sushi, no Thai food, no Chinese, because Italian food is the best. We went out for Italian 3 days in a row. She complained about pasta, about the cheese, about everything and anything. It's just not as good as in Italy. She complained that the wine was not tasty enough, and then she got mad when I dared to order a cappuccino at 4 p.m. because we don't drink cappuccino after noon. I was just like, yeah, I drink what I want anytime I want, but okay. Coffee was either too burnt or not hot enough. We went to Kohl's to do some shopping. Straight away, she complained about no authentic Italian pastas, and in the middle of the aisle decided to teach me how to properly say the name of each pasta dish. We decided to cook at home today. Mind you, I'm Asian. I love my spices and I love my flavorful dishes. I decided to cook what I know best, and she did not think it would be a bad idea. She came and the first thing she said was, "Your house smells bad, fish sauce." And she proceeded to ignore my dish and ask my husband to take her out for some lasagna. When she got back, she told me I should learn how to cook Italian dishes because it is not good for my husband to always eat fusion food. I was so mad and I did not mince my words. I told her how arrogant and obnoxious to think Italian food is the best. Told her Italians are not the best. They do not have the best food, and we would not take her out for any Italian meals. She could go shopping for herself, cook it, and enjoy it alone. Sorry, the ingredients would not be as good as in Italy, but she was from another country and she should be grateful for what she could find. She cried and decided to leave early. My husband tried to tell me that she is set in her way and she does not travel that much in her life. 60 years, and this is the second time she travels out of the country. The last time was to Germany, and it was well over 25 years ago. He told me maybe I should just say sorry just to smooth the situation. I refused, and I told him that if she cannot live without her Italian heritage for just a few weeks, then there's no point for me to convince her to like me anymore. So, am I the asshole?
I think kind of both of them.
Everyone sucks
have
here
a little
is an
bit of a
option.
problem.
Everyone
and this
sucks here is an
husband's
option, yes.
got an issue. I mean,
Yeah.
what I would have done is I would have said, you know, well, I'm going to do some nice Italian cooking for you on that day. And I would have sat her down at that table, served her a nice Aperol Spritz, and popped open a can of Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatball. I would have poured that into the thing in the microwave, brought it out, and said, here's some down under spaghetti and meatball. Now, you want to eat that, or you want to enjoy some differences in your life and some down under food? I'm going to take you to the Barbie.
Brutal. I can't imagine going to someone's house and having them cook for me and then complaining that their house stinks, which just kind of feels racist, and then refusing to even try any of the food either. Why wouldn't you even try it? Your friend just sat there and made it for you. Like, yes, you traveled that entire way, but you're not higher than thou. You're not all this holy and mighty where it's your food or no food. If you have food restrictions, that's one thing. But it doesn't sound like she has food restrictions. It just sounds like she is pretentious.
I think what she is sheltered, and that she's never traveled before.
Yeah.
And so you see this sometimes even with Americans when they travel.
Oh my God, it's so embarrassing.
People
I'll have
are like,
chicken tenders and fries.
Want ice in my soft drink.
That's acceptable. That's acceptable. It's the people who, again, food restrictions, ARFIDs, anything like that, not included. But it's the people who refuse to branch out and go and eat chicken tenders and fries everywhere they effing go. That drives me nuts. That makes me so crazy. If you have the capability to try new food, you should. And if you don't have the capability, that's fine. Don't try new food.
It sounds like this husband and wife knew, one, this lady's older, set in her ways, has only traveled once
set in her
a
ways
long
drives
time
me
ago.
nuts too.
And so you can anticipate this from a mile wide. And so even before she comes, probably would have talked to her, and then as good hosts, see what is it that you like to eat.
Yeah, that's true too. They
tried to
definitely could
work
have
out
asked.
some of these things before they arrived.
But I don't think they knew, because it says that she has not traveled outside of the country in forever. And the last time she went to Germany was 25 years ago. So that's assuming that they probably don't see each other very often. And this is just like maybe a pen pal that they keep up with like that. So maybe they couldn't have anticipated. I think everyone kind of sucks here. I don't think you should yell at somebody for their food preferences. I think you could have sat down with her and been like, no, this isn't what we're doing. Like, we can sit down and figure out, like, let's look at Google. Like, you guys have Google in Australia, right? You could sit down on Google and say, okay, we are going to go to this restaurant this day. I want to try this restaurant this day. Like, you could have done literally anything. So I think mildly everybody sucks here, but also you're not entirely an a-hole.
This lady hasn't seen anything yet. Like, I went to Scotland, and they served... No, I'm not eating that. They served steak and kidney pie.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you, it's very difficult to figure out which piece is the steak and which piece is the kidney.
Nope, I'm done.
Until you bite into it.
Nope, I'm done.
And then you will know.
Immediately no.
And so you better learn how to swallow whole.
Nope, immediately no. I have texture problems.
Which leads me, I'll tell you texture problems.
Nope.
Speaking of swallowing whole, I was in Korea a few years ago.
Oh, no.
And I went with someone like this lady. And we're in Korea, and she's doesn't like anything. So the Korean general manager and I go to a Korean restaurant, and he says to me, we'll get her some real authentic Korean food.
Oh,
I'm like, fine. Now, I should have had a clue when we entered the restaurant and he told his driver who disappeared into a back alley. And I said to him, why are these going? Oh, he's going to the fish market, get some real. So we all sit at the table. He comes in with a little bag, a little paper bag, and it's moving. And so they open it up, and it's a small octopus. So I say to my American friend, you know, this is your first trip to Korea. You have to have some of the octopus. So the chef comes out with a big knife. Chop, 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 chop. Here's the pieces. And so then she freaks out and says, no way unless you eat it. So what am I supposed to do?
You
no,
eat it.
No, you don't know what happened.
Was it still moving?
Yeah.
Okay,
and so I took it, and I'm like, I know what to do. Because when I was little, your grandmother, she would serve the worst mashed potatoes.
Oh, no, not you.
They were like rocks, and I was stubborn, and I would sit there. I'm not going to eat that. And she's like, then you're going to sit here until the sun
sit
comes
there
up.
all night,
and they get
boy.
colder and colder. So the way I figured it out is even a rock mashed potato, if you drink like water or whatever, it'll soften it. You can swallow it whole. So I developed this great technique. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to do with this octopus. Get this lady to eat this octopus. So I put it in my mouth. I did the water, and it went down. But as it went down, it was writhing.
No.
And it stuck to the side of my throat.
No.
I'm like, what?
That would be my 13th reason
why. If this thing was big, they would have had to do a trach, get it out of me. But it's small enough, but I'm choking with it. I'm like, where's the bread? Give me the bread. You know, give me all this stuff. Everybody's freaking out, going like this. It was not good.
Oh,
it was
Jupiter,
not good.
you're okay,
that
baby.
lady never ate Korean food again the whole time we're there.
You know, you traumatized her. You traumatized her. I would have wanted to find a Mickey Mouse too.
Who was the problem in that story?
Not you.
No, not me. No.
The guy who went to get the octopus.
The guy who went to get the octopus.
And then you afterwards, because you decided that you were going to be Mr. Tough Guy and tried to swallow it.
I think
karma got you in a minute.
I would have definitely had a lawsuit there.
Oh my God. All right. The top comment says, not the a-hole. I'm Canadian and I've been to Italy several times. I currently have Italian exchange students. Now, the exchange students will make the odd comments on food differences here and there. They don't like coffee either. They are usually very polite and grateful for trying new things. It's part of being somewhere different is to experience the culture. My friends from Italy would never behave like this in my home. They always have polite manners. She was rude to you on purpose and disguised it as national pride. She did disguise it as national pride. She went and was like, my food is better than yours, and then refused to taste anybody else's food. And I think that's arrogance.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
Yep. The next comment says, not the a-hole. I'm from Germany and have been to the U.S. multiple times. I didn't like the bread, but I didn't complain about it. Different countries have different foods. Half of the fun is going and trying the new foods. Yep. Completely agree. You got to go and try it. My favorite place that I've ever been and the favorite food that I've ever eaten in the entire world was when I went to Japan those times.
What did you like there?
Everything. Every single thing.
Did you have eel?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we had a ton of stuff. And that's part of the reason, like, why I want to move out to Washington is because the seafood out there is very reminiscent of similar stuff to what I've had in Japan. It is so fresh because it's, I mean, it's literally the ocean right there.
But the eel's now my favorite. So if all of you viewers want to go try something, eel, Japanese eel.
There you go. You heard it here
not
first.
Not the electric eel. That's not good. If you do that, that's shocking. You don't want that. You want just the normal eel.
Yep. All right, the last comment says, not the a-hole. I'm Indian and I don't like Indian food abroad, so I always try to eat the local food. Even if I have to eat Indian food, I'm mentally prepared to be disappointed. It's never going to be like home. It's also very rude of her to say things about your native cuisine. At 60, she should have better manners. Being dismissive of Asian food seems a little racist, too. That's exactly what I said. The comment about the fish sauce, that was very, your house stinks. Like, that's just, that's racist.
Not good.
Not good. Not good. So, not the a-hole. Sick. Not the a-hole. You heard it here first. You heard it here first, folks.
Just gave the top comment.
There we go. All right. Let's see here. I love you. I think people can see him.
He's right here.
He is. He's so cute. I love him so much. He missed us so much while we were gone.
And we're not giving him up for adoption.
And he's not going home with you either.
Yeah, he's going home with me.
Nope.
I've tried for the last 5 months.
All right. The next story comes from r/TIFU, which stands for Today I F***ed Up. So this person is going to tell us a story about how today they messed it all up. Today I f***ed up by accidentally reprogramming the Call Mickey Mouse button on the Disney store phone to auto-call my dad at work.
Oh my God.
When I was about 15, I was at a Disney store in a mall, and one of the features was a phone that you could call different Disney characters from and then have fake pre-recorded conversations with that character. While I was using it, I noticed the cover was loose, and when I pulled it up, I saw that it was just a normal phone underneath. So I did what any kid would do, and I dialed my dad's work number, and I said hi. I didn't mention I was at the Disney store or anything before I had called him. He was mildly annoyed, and the short call ended. If only he knew what was coming. In actuality, by dialing his number, I had unknowingly reprogrammed the Mickey Mouse button to call my dad at work every single time anybody called it. So I walked away and I go about my afternoon. Important to note that this was the early 1990s and very much pre-cell phone era, meaning I got home several hours later and there was no way to contact me. And over those few hours, every few minutes, my dad's work phone would ring and a cute little kid would say to my dad, "Does Mickey have a message for me?" Well, the first few times my dad was just confused and hung up. But then it didn't stop. In fact, the frequency began to pick up as the day went on. And my dad, assuming he was being relentlessly pranked while he was trying to just work, finally lost his cool and yelled into the phone at some poor kid, "Yeah, Mickey Mouse has a message for you. F off." Needless to say, the calls stopped. I assume someone reported that to the store and they got it sorted immediately. But when he told me the story later that evening, I just bust up laughing. Then I explained everything. It would be a lie to say he immediately saw the humor in it, but he certainly does now. How would you feel? You'd be so annoyed. You'd probably figure out to block the number though.
I don't know
but
about,
this was 1990s.
I don't know about using profanity, but I can relate
towards
in this
children
way.
too.
If you remember, our favorite holiday is what?
Oh, I would say mine's Christmas.
Oh no!
Sorry,
it's
brutal.
Halloween.
Okay,
you and
Halloween.
I like Halloween.
I do like Halloween,
And
but
so,
I really like Christmas.
Right after the Dark Night happened, we go with Mom and your two brothers, your younger brothers, trick or treating. And you know, I'm like Marlon Brando. I'm a method actor. And so I decide, you and I always like to dress up. Mm-hmm. So I dress up like the Joker.
Mm-hmm. I remember this.
But I'm working and all, so I don't have time like these Comic-Con people to find everything. And so I got it down to everything but the vest. And I had the right vest. It was just a different color. That's the only thing. I looked exactly like it. We could show your viewers.
Yeah. If you have the picture, if we find the picture, we'll put it up here for you guys. So
I've got the picture.
Okay, it'll be right up here then.
So you and I go out, and we're in front because Kyle's young, and so he's in the stroller. Mm-hmm. So Mom and everybody's behind us, and you and I are walking. It's dusk, and then this little kid comes up on the bike right next to us. He goes, "Hey, mister, I'm not afraid of you." I'm like, "Why are you not afraid of me?" Because I looked exactly like the Dark Knight.
He really did.
I did.
So you're like down to the facial structure and
I
everything.
have watched that movie 100 times, and I have analyzed it, and you are not the Joker. And I am like, I'm starting to get angry because I know where this is going to go. I'm like, hold my cool, because the Joker would. Oh, why so serious? What is the issue? You aren't the Joker because you don't have the same vest. The very thing that bothered me as a method actor. It's Halloween. I'm just going like the dude. So I empathize with the father when he's being harangued by all these kids. And I did not use profanity. And so,
no, you usually don't use profanity,
I think the
though,
father's
to be
kind
fair.
of an a-hole. But I'm telling you, you better not mess with Disney. Better not mess with Disney.
Well, yeah, and this was in the 1990s, so there was probably no way for them to figure out what it was calling. They probably just reprogrammed it. Nowadays, you can't get away with anything. This tracks you like crazy.
With Walt Disney.
We'll jump into the comments.
All right.
All right. The top comment on this one says, "Please tell me your dad worked in a cubicle and the whole office floor heard him say that." Oh, yeah, because he was at work when they called,
That's
huh?
true.
That's
in the 90s.
funny. And it was in the 90s, too. I'm so sure. Oh, my God. Imagine them all just, like, peeking over the cubicles trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. You just wait till that dad tries to enter Magic Kingdom.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I got him on a list.
I'm sure.
He's got a better chance of entering heaven than he does getting in the Magic Kingdom.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next comment says, I like thinking that the little kid looked visibly stunned after hearing that. And when the parent asked him what happened, he goes, Mom, you are not going to believe what that rat just told me.
No, what
Brutal.
happens is that mom and dad were at dinner that night, and the little kid said, I just learned a new word.
Oh, yep, and then goes and says it when the server's bringing the check.
You can't say that. Well, that's what they were telling
Mom,
me
that's what
with
Mickey Mouse
the
said.
Walt Disney Company.
You said Mickey Mouse is a good role model.
There you go.
The next.
Never trust a mouse.
Nope.
I'd rather go trust a rat.
Never
than
trust a mouse or a narcissist. If you know, you know.
Who, Peter Pan?
Taylor Swift said that.
Yeah.
Never trust a narcissist, but they love me.
Then that means she doesn't like Peter Pan? She ain't getting in the Magic Kingdom either.
No, she can go wherever she wants.
No.
The next comment says, I don't want to make OP feel bad, but that kid definitely had his childhood ruined that day. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Someone responds to that and says, oh, I would have 100% thought that Donald Duck was answering Mickey's phone and he was pissed. That's like the perfect cover story. Just say Donald Duck did it. Don't ruin the kid's childhood, just like you ruined that kid's childhood with the Joker. He probably still has PTSD nightmares about the Joker to this day.
I think they should punish the father by sending him to the Magic Kingdom and make him spend a day as Cinderella.
Well, there you go.
Greeting all these kids.
Cinderella.
There you go.
All right. We are going to move on to the next story. All right. This next one comes from r/legal advice.
Oh, there you go.
It says, this person is posting from Oregon, and it says, I accidentally created an army of crow bodyguards. Am I liable if my murder attempts murder? And in case you don't know, a gaggle of crows, a group of crows, if you will, they're called a murder. So, a little context if you're not quite sure what that means.
That's a good Jeopardy question.
What is a gaggle of crows called?
Mm-hmm.
A murder. Jupiter, come here, baby. Come here, sweetie. Come here. Come be with us.
So what happened?
All right. Sit down. Lay down. Jupiter just decided to join us, obviously. I'm sure you guys see her big old body.
She heard the two dog stories.
Yep.
There she is.
Hi, baby girl.
She thinks she's a small dog.
She's so... Well, yeah, 'cause she was raised around small dogs. She's a good girl, though. All right. To make a long story short, I'm a late 20-something living in Portland, Oregon. I had a pretty intense emo/goth phase as a tween that I thought I had grown out of. A couple of months ago, I was watching a nature program on our local station about crows. The program mentioned that if you ever feed or befriend them, the crows will bring you small gifts. My emo phase came back full force, and I had figured that I was furloughed and had lots of time, so why not make some friends? My plan worked a little too well, and the resident 5 crows in my neighborhood have turned into an army of 15 strong. At first, my neighbors didn't mind and actually enjoyed it. They're mostly elderly and most were in a bird watching club anyway. They thought the fact that I had crows following me wherever I went outside was funny. Lately, the crows have started defending me. My neighbor came over for a socially distanced chat, me on my porch and her in my yard, and the crows started dive bombing her. They would not stop until she left my yard. They didn't make any physical contact with her, but they did get very close. Am I liable if these crows injure someone since I feed them? I obviously can't control the crows. I would rather them not attack my neighbors, but since I technically created this nuisance, could I be financially on the hook for any injuries? To be clear, they're not aggressive 100% of the time. It's just if the neighbors are out and they are friendly, normal crows. They only get aggressive when someone gets too close to me or my property.
Well, first of all, this is very creepy. Very creepy.
No, not at all.
And
I made friends with crows when I lived in Crestone, and I have little trinkets that they brought me. All those things. Do you see my plant right up there? Look at my aloe plant up there.
I see that.
All of those little gems are things that crows have brought me. I'll take a picture of it and I'll post it up here for you guys to see. Every single one of these little gems is something that a bird has brought me because I did something very similar when I lived out in Crestone, Colorado.
Unfortunately, raccoons and crows are harbingers from hell.
Oh, I love raccoons.
They come from down
Lance
under.
is part raccoon.
And so I don't have a lot of empathy with this.
Oh.
But
Sweet baby.
I would suggest, first of all, that this lady and her friend watch Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, because I think that could give them some really good insights in how to deal with this. I think it was Tippi Hedren for the older group in the crowd. But listen, crows are one of the smartest creatures around, along with an octopus,
Yep.
which we've already talked about.
Yep.
That this is a place that they can get security, they can get food, whatever it is, and so they're going to become overly protective of her. So they're guarding her property. So it depends on what happens when the people come to the property.
They're attacking you.
Are they coming as a guest? Are they coming as a trespasser?
No, it
or
sounds
are
like
they
they're coming
coming
as guests.
as someone because she's making commercial gain off of them? Because that's how the law is going to be. If you're making commercial gain off of it, there's a higher duty of care. If it's a trespasser, not a hardly any duty of care.
That would
If
fall
you're
under
bringing
like having
a
a guard
guest
dog
on,
for trespassers.
you're kind of in the middle on it, but you're supposed to notify, and it's all under state law anyway, but you're supposed to notify of known dangers. So the more that you know that these crows are getting aggressive and all of that, if it were me, well, first of all, just because you have the legal right to do it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. I don't know that I would just be bringing people in and allowing them to be attacked. Unless they're in-laws or people you don't like.
No. So this was written during COVID, so social distancing, so that's why the neighbors are standing out on the lawn. It sounds like it's just the neighbors that are coming to say hi, and they're just friends. They're just having friendly conversations, so they're not trespassing. They're not doing anything wrong. This person is wondering, like, they can't control the crows. Like, you can control a dog. You know, like if you have a guard dog and somebody's having friendly conversation. She's enabling
the crows. She
is by feeding them.
She's feeding them, and she has knowledge that they're becoming aggressive and all of this.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so I think just out of common social decency, and she's got elderly, they can't run fast. And all, what if the
trying to
crows
run away
starts
from
to
a
poke
murder
their
of
eyes
crows?
out and all of that? I'm telling you, these crows, they're not good.
No,
and,
I love them. I think they're sweet.
And so I think she needs to maybe put a sign, or she needs to warn
beware
people.
Of birds. Yeah,
beware of birds, because I'm
enabling
enabling them and making them aggressive with regard to the whole thing.
Well, she doesn't have to put that up. I personally love this for her.
There's
I think
enough
this is amazing.
plaintiff attorneys out there. If you get an elderly person whose eyes are poked out by that crow, you know.
Yeah, but if they have a beware of birds sign up, it's just kind of like dogs, where if you have an aggressive dog that's on your property and somebody steps over your property line, they get attacked by the dog, they're off like free because they had a sign up that says beware of dog. Yeah. And it was the person's negligence that didn't look for it. So definitely put a sign up if you haven't already. This post is 4 years old and it is locked, so I don't think we're probably ever going to get an update on it, but I personally think it's hilarious that you've enticed all of these crows to bring you things. They're so smart. They really are. And maybe they're just being protective of you because they see you as like this mother figure to them.
They ain't being protective. They're just basically wanting their food. They're wanting whatever that lady's giving them.
I think they're protecting her.
Well, maybe she just needs to give them a little bit
I think in another life she was a crow. All right, the top comment says, they are resource guarding to stop them from attacking people. Ask guests to bring shiny objects or food scraps to the murder of crows as a peace offering. You could also supply your guests little baggies of treats for them to offer up. If they dive bomb someone, don't give them food for 24 hours. If they are nice to a guest, give them a high-valued treat to reinforce positive behavior. Advice from my partner. She was a field biologist that is published in biology and ornithology. I don't even know what that is. Something with birds, probably. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Of birds.
Eat me up in the comments below if I mispronounced that.
Yeah,
you could train them how to train your dragon, how to train your birds.
These academics live in an ivory tower, you know, and telling you all this stuff.
I love it. I would love to know how this
if I'm the grandkid of one of these elderly people that got dive bombed by that, I'll go over there next door and I'll bring a net. I'll bring a shotgun, I'll bring a baseball bat, and let them come dive bomb me.
In some places, they're protected, so the shotgun and the baseball bat could get you fined or jailed.
Probably in Oregon,
in a lot of places, they're protected.
Oregon protects everything.
They do, as they should, as they should.
That's something we can debate in the top comment in another episode.
They are really smart. You could train them. I really think you could train them. I would love it. OP, if you're out there somewhere listening to this at any given point in time, whether it's now or 10 years down the road, comment below and tell me what happened. And I will respond to you and I will put your response in an episode because I would love to know how this turned out.
I'll give you a good piece of advice.
I would train
OP,
them.
Go contact M. Night Shyamalan and tell him what's going on, and that he will then do a redo of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. You will be famous.
There you
and
go.
Those birds and those crows will make you a fine fortune.
Yep, and then you'll never have to worry about ever running out of food for them again. The next comment on here says, it would take quite a stretch for someone to make a winning case that you were negligent by feeding the crows and that feeding the crows was the cause of whatever injury occurred. A stretch does not mean impossible, though. Make sure your homeowner's insurance is up to date. Yeah, imagine losing your homeowner's insurance because of some birds.
Or get an umbrella policy.
Yeah, you have to have an umbrella to come here. There you go.
You wear the umbrella and also get the umbrella policy where it's special rider with regard to attacking crows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get a sign and give your guests the treats and make a whole little community about it. I think that'd be cute.
Now the question is though, what if they were ravens?
They could be.
I'm telling you.
They absolutely could
be. And what's
be.
the difference between a crow and a raven?
I don't know, but I know a lot of people mix them up. Because
Well,
the ones that we have out here are ravens. They
are worse
big.
than the crow.
They are. Remember? Oh my God. When we Mom's gonna see this, so hi, Mom. When she came out to Pagosa to visit me for the first time, it was the fall, and the ravens and the crows out here, they're huge. They're massive. They could literally pick one of my small dogs up and fly off. And so my mom's out here, and we were like looking at him, and she goes, "That is a mass ass crow," and we just lost it laughing. It was so funny. Me and my brother kept like stimming it back and forth. We're like, mass ass crow, and every time I see one now, I always think of it. It's so funny.
That's what they do.
They do, yeah. They're loud. Oh my God, they're so funny. I don't think he liked that.
No, he didn't like that. You didn't like
Roman's
that.
like, stop it.
Yeah, because like Wizard of Oz, they're gonna come take you like the monkeys
baby.
and fly away.
Oh no, baby.
To Edgar Allan Poe's
no,
home.
baby. Juby wouldn't let that happen. She's big enough to fight them off. All right, the last comment says, not legal advice, but they're probably smart enough that you could try to train them not to dive bomb your neighbors. So I think general consensus on this one is you should train them and put up a sign while they're in training. Birds in training, caution. There you go. Kill it all at the same time.
There you go.
Yep. All right. Our next story comes from r/petty revenge. So these are when people get revenge on each other in a petty way.
Okay.
Owner fired my dad, then came asking me for work. Denied. Back in 1997, my stepdad was an operations manager at a company that he did telecommunications work for. He hired me to work at the company for the summer, but I ended up enjoying the work and made a career out of it. About 4 months into my employment at the company, the owner and my stepdad had a disagreement over something very trivial, and the owner fired my dad. Since he's my stepdad, we have a different last name, and I didn't feel like I would get caught in the issue. I had my own issues with this company as well, mostly not being paid correctly and being denied benefits as promised. Ended up working for another 18 months for the company before I left to work for a major telecommunications provider that we had done some work for. At the new company, I eventually took a position where I was responsible for hiring contractors, much like the company my dad and I worked for, to do construction. One day I got a call out of the blue from the owner of the construction company. He wanted to see if I could get on my list of approved contractors and was hoping we could discuss it over lunch. Typically, a project of this type could be from $75,000 to $200,000, and I would do 20 to 30 projects per year, so it could be a lucrative source of revenue for them. I agreed to a lunch date with the owner at a fancy restaurant. I always wanted to try. His pitch consisted of telling me what his company was capable of, how he valued his employees and took good care of them. He mentioned the list of other companies he's done work for and the quality of work. I mentioned that I used to work for his company, and clearly he didn't remember my name. I also asked if he remembered the guy who hired me, and he said he did. When I mentioned that he was my stepdad, the look of panic in his eyes set in. He clearly remembered my stepdad. I closed out the lunch meeting with a thank you for the food and an apology that my contractor list was full of more capable contractors, but I would keep him in mind if something were to change. I never heard back from him again.
This is an interesting one. I think we need to know more facts.
Yeah.
We need to know, why was the stepdad fired?
Yep.
Was the stepdad fired because the stepdad justifiably did something improper in the firm? If that's the case, then I think it's wrong to be vindictive over the matter. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you've got to be careful when you're working for another company, and it's not like you yourself owning everything. You're working for the other company. I don't think you should let those family matters get in the way. You need to make a decision on whether or not this guy's company is actually better than the other contractors and can provide better service. Now, the way the person treated the stepdad could give a really good indication of how they treat people. If they can't treat their own employees fairly, then how are they going to treat customers or clients? And so it's a very complicated matter that I'm not sure that we know enough information to say which way, other than it seems to me that the lady in this case is being a little bit personal and vindictive over it. And I think she should have explored the situation more along the lines I was saying.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes with Reddit stories, you're not going to get all the information, unfortunately, because it just, I mean, I don't know. People have read it, I guess. I'm going to go with the dad was wrongfully fired. The stepdad was wrongfully fired. That's what I'm going to go ahead with the assumption on, because we don't have anything else to go off of. If they were wrongfully fired, truly, then yeah, I think this is pretty funny. I mean, I'm sure they've like done their research. The person that wrote this story worked for the company before, so he's already familiar with what it is. Granted, that was years ago, so yeah, doing the proper research is probably important. But in the fact of standing up for their stepdad and getting that tiny little bit of satisfactory revenge when they know that they can make that same money elsewhere with another company and not hire an idiot like that who's just going to willingly fire somebody, totally funny. Love petty revenge like that.
Yeah, but I'm not all that pleased with what's going on here, because if you knew the company and you had worked there and all of that, then don't play games and go invite him to dinner and just and do that. One, I think you're wasting the time that you could be serving your own current employer.
Fair.
I think it also shows immaturity on your part, and so I don't like how the whole thing went down.
Yeah.
And
they missed out on a lot of money too. They said $75,000 to $200,000 per project, and they'd be doing 30 projects per year. So was the petty revenge worth losing out on that money? Probably not. I would say no.
Yeah.
I would say no. If you were wrongfully fired and I had the opportunity, but
yeah, but again, we don't know if it was wrongfully fired.
Even still, yeah, keep family out of it. That's fair too. If you're just minding your own business.
I think the guy, when he found out, probably should have said, "Would you like to see the dessert menu?"
Yeah, right.
Change the topic entirely. That's a lovely dress that you have today.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Did you just see out that window? There's a lot of crows attacking a bunch of elderly people. God. And why is that guy over there trying to give back his dog?
Yep, there you go.
Anything you can do to distract and create chaos.
Yep.
That's probably what I would have done.
Yep. Get it out of the moment immediately. Let them wallow in their own embarrassment for a minute.
Yeah.
The top comment on this one says, the look of panic. He'll never forget that moment. I don't think he will either. As soon as he panicked, he probably knew exactly what was going on. But if you never heard from him again, I guess he probably took it on the chin and just moved on. The next comment says, oh man, that made my cold, dead heart beat once out of spiteful joy. Nice work. So there are a lot of people that are into the petty revenge here. I don't know if it was petty or if it was...
It was immature, to say the least.
I don't know if petty's the right word.
And I think all those people are probably unemployed.
Well, no, I mean, if he has the chance to make $200,000 30 times a year, that's millions of dollars. That's employment. That's pretty good. That's pretty good when what is the national salary still? Is it still $7.25 federal minimum wage, $7.25 an hour?
Depends whatever if you trust what government figures are.
Yeah, that's fair too.
There you go.
The last comment in this says, the ass you're kicking today could be the ass you're kissing tomorrow.
Well, right there
Words
is the
of
King
wisdom.
Solomon of the show.
Yep, there you go.
That might have just been
that should have been the top comment.
That might have been the top comment.
Yep.
The top comment. Although I did look out the window. The crows are attacking.
Yeah, the crows are attacking at 12:44 a.m. right now.
There you go.
All right. The last story that we're going to get into, this comes from a subreddit called Ask Reddit. And Ask Reddit is my favorite subreddit. And I told you, if you're ever going to get into reading Reddit stories, you should look at Ask Reddit, because people from all over the world will go and they'll ask whatever question they want and whatever question they have a question about, and people from all over the world will answer. So this one is a little bit special because we also had some family chime in on it. So
what?
It says... What is your...
our family?
Mm-hmm.
Him?
Totally. It says, what is your best one time my dad story? So we're going to hear some stories about funny things that dads have done.
Okay. Try me.
The top comment says, one time my dad took my brother's walkie-talkie and had us and about 10 kids in the neighborhood convinced that we had picked up signal from a plane that was crashing towards the earth. We were running up and down the streets for an hour with our eyes on the sky, listening as the pilot tried to reach someone for help. Dad's windows were open, so we eventually caught on to the heinous laughter echoing between the houses after every Mayday.
Gosh. That's brutal.
That's a dad prank. That's totally a dad prank. I love it. I think that's so funny. All right. The next comment says, one time my dad waited till my 3 siblings and I had gone to bed. And on Christmas Eve, he shouted, I don't care who you are, fat man. Get that sled off my roof. We were all up telling dad not to yell at Santa.
That's
so dad
good.
Pretending to be Santa. Someone else
would
says
have sent him to the island of misfit toys. That's where they send dentists too. The island of misfit toys.
Kyle, you're screwed.
Kyle screwed.
Someone else says one time my dad's fart smelled so bad that my dog threw up.
That's pretty bad. That's not good. Sounds to me like there's a lot of sulfur.
He was eating too much Italian food is the problem. He didn't branch out enough. The next comment says, so we were having a family dinner over summer and my sister had been at a barbecue the day before and the host gave her a big bowl of fruit salad to take home. We were sitting there having dinner and my dad is staring at the fruit salad with this weird look on his face. And he says, what are these little blue things, while holding up a blueberry? We were like, how do you not know what a blueberry is? Then realized my mom hates blueberries. So dude hasn't seen a blueberry in 45 years and forgot they existed.
There's something wrong with that family.
That's brutal.
That's pretty brutal.
I thought it was going to be like, he can't remember the word for it, but just not knowing what it is pretty funny.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God. The last comment from this post says, this was a few years back, but my dad got really into my pot brownies. The only way I know this is because I woke up in the middle of the night to him putting baby socks on my dog. His only statement was, dogs shouldn't have cold feet.
Oh, jeez. That's weird. My favorite story is, you weren't there at this time, but we were in Boy Scouts, and your older brother, who's 3 years older than Kyle, we went on this scouting trip with your older brother and the scouts his age. So they were probably...
Ryan's my middle brother. He's just older than my younger brother.
Or 13. And Kyle had just come into the Boy Scouts, so he's 3 years younger. Mm-hmm. And we're up in like this very dark wooded area. And it's kind of scary. And it's at night. And so I'm a little bit of a storyteller. So the boys are wanting me, to tell stories. So I talk about clowns. Because I'll tell you right now, this is another top comment.
Don't like
if
clowns.
you ever see a clown after midnight, it's not a good thing.
Don't look in the gutters after midnight.
I start talking to him about clowns and all of this stuff. And I'm like, you see any of those clowns in the woods there and all of that. And I'm going on and on and on about killer clowns and all this kind of stuff.
Killer clowns to the...
And Kyle's in the back seat.
Preteen Boy Scouts.
He's like in the back seat or whatever. And then he's like, Dad... I don't think this is a good idea. It's not a good idea because Kyle's getting scared and all of that.
I'm sure
and so I'm like, do you want me to stop talking about the clowns? And he says, yes. So we're like driving along. It's very dark. And everybody's very quiet. And then all of a sudden, while we're driving along, that's what I do. That's what I do in the car. And like everyone freaks out. And I've never seen your younger brother angrier. It's almost like
fear immediately into anger.
And I became his age and he became my age. And he's like this old man back there. That is not right. That is wrong. You should not have done that. Why did you do that? Ryan and all the other ones are laughing on the whole thing. He was so angry.
He was pissed.
I'm like scared. I'm like driving, I'm like, I would have taken on the clown. And he was so upset.
Oh my God,
and
that's
he
so
remembers
funny.
this to this day. I don't know if he was trying.
I wish,
guys or not.
Kyle and Ryan, if you're watching this, I wish you would have responded to my text. You could have told this.
There you go.
What the heck? People who did respond to my texts, though. All right, who's do you want to hear first? Mom or Rita?
I'm afraid of what your mom will say. So Rita.
Mom's has a picture,
Rita
too.
is now the fiance of Kyle, who I've just explained.
Kyle's my youngest brother.
You kind of know Kyle's personality.
Yes, Kyle's my youngest brother. He's the aspiring oral surgeon. So, all right, you want to hear what Rita has to say? Okay, Rita is my future sister-in-law. Her and Kyle are getting married in September. Rita says,
what?
The night of Evan and Sav's wedding, we were walking them to their room.
No, this is just like 2 weeks ago.
The night of Evan and Sav's wedding, we were walking them to their room and then heading to meet some friends. As soon as the elevator doors opened, we stepped into the hallway, and there was your dad, not expecting to see anyone, even though the wedding was held at a hotel, sprinting down the hall in his tighty-whitey undies, clutching a bucket of ice. He yelled in panic, "You're not supposed to see me like this!" The timing couldn't have been funnier.
Fortunately, I was buff. Yes, that.
The visual that Rita gave is 10 out of 10. So funny. I was wheezing. I had to get my inhaler after laughing at that because it was so funny.
Those were neon sign underwear.
Neon tighty whities, y'all.
Yeah, they weren't boxers. I'll say that. But I wasn't Brazilian.
It's clutching the bucket of ice for me.
Yes,
That's so funny.
And
you and your ice.
Costanza way.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's so funny.
Seinfeld.
Thank you, Rita. That was phenomenal.
Which tells you that you can have these stories just as recently as 2 weeks ago.
You can, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what did your mom say?
All right. Mom's is the very last comment of this episode we're going to read. We actually have a picture that goes along with it.
Oh, no.
I know she's watching right now. I know she's going to think this is hilarious. She says, this is a little bit of a tribute to my papa as well. His father-in-law and my mom's dad. He just passed away, as you guys know, which is why I've been taking a little bit of time off. So this story kind of honors you both as a favorite dad moment.
Okay. And Paul, your papa was a lion of a man, and on June 5th he passed away in a library burned down.
What? A library?
Yeah, Winston Churchill said that when, great people pass away, an entire library of books that are like books.
Oh, like their knowledge?
Yeah, all their knowledge and experiences that they can pass on Earth go away into the mists and all of that. And so that's who your papa was. So a massive library went down, although I do have a book that I checked out from Papa, and I haven't given it back. So since we just mentioned Seinfeld, maybe Mr. Bookman will come and knock on my door. Knock
on your door, yeah.
You have a book that needs to go across the river Styx. Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, but go on.
All right.
We need themes to be connected.
We do.
Yeah.
All right. My mom says, Papa and I would always put up the Christmas lights together when I was growing up, as well as helped him through the years introducing the woodland porch. Our pre-lit upside down Christmas tree lights partially went out, and so all the machine, tight end, and woven around the lights on the branches needed to come out as well. Your dad volunteered to do this task, not realizing the hours and tedious work that was involved with it. Yes. One night, my dad and I were on the phone, and when he started this project, and after about 45 minutes, you could hear chatter coming from the entryway where your dad was sitting in front of the tree. This chatter became a little more concentrated and elevated. Yes, when I told my dad, Papa, the situation, we started to laugh hysterically and privately because we knew what was involved in the task, having gone through it in the past. I took this picture and sent it to my dad. We laughed harder because by this point he had a headlamp on, gotten electrical clippers, and a small piece of green lights all over the floor. It took 2 hours to complete. So I'm going to show you the picture. You guys can see it on the screen. We're going to get a zoom in here of the headlamp.
Oh my gosh. There I am. Doing surgery
there
on
he
this
is,
tree.
Folks.
I
doing
hated
surgery
that thing.
on the tree. They have this big, giant, upside down tree that goes in their entryway for Christmas.
Of course, we
That's
have
why
an
I said
upside
Christmas
down
is our
tree
favorite
in
holiday.
our house. It's very Seussian.
Mm-hmm.
But
Dr.
what even
Seuss,
makes this more funny, as your mom and the family well knows, is I went to law school because I was not interested in like engineering projects and all
It's
this.
too tedious
so
for
every
him.
Christmas, you know, because we did not kill Santa when he came to our house. Every Christmas, with all these toys, and your papa would always do this, get these things that have to be assembled. They're worse than IKEA. And your mom would sit there, and she would be putting it together while I'm reading the instructions.
Oh, I'm so
because that's
sure.
what lawyers do, is read the instructions.
I'm
and I'm
so
like,
sure.
now make sure that you don't assemble this and drop it into a tub while you're bathing and all that.
Yep.
She's like, that is not
Not over open water.
That is not helpful. That is not helpful. And invariably, she would have the thing built before I had gotten through all the instructions.
Of course.
Now remember, but the
She's a woman.
instructions
She
at
just
least have 30
knows.
languages, and so I have to get through it. And so for whatever reason on this day, she entrusted that project to me, which is
Brutal.
not a good idea. I'm surprised I didn't burn
So
the house
brutal.
down.
Yeah, electrical wiring.
And
it.
your other grandparents almost did burn their house down. And
Oh,
that'll have to be
God.
for another episode.
Yep.
How young David burnt the house down because I developed a new way to get rid of fall foliage.
Oh, God. Comment below if you want the story, and we'll come back and
Yes.
do another episode.
That's true.
Hope-
Maybe like, you know, Seinfeld would always have these recurring characters and they became popular.
Yeah.
So I guess what we need is the audience of the top comment. If you'd ever like to see me come back, you got to leave a comment for Allie,
Yep.
and I might come back.
Yep, comment below. I would love to have more guests on. I love it with just us, but it's nice to have people on for different
thank you for
perspectives.
inviting me. I
You're
think it's
welcome.
great.
Thanks for showing up. This was awesome. This was a lot of fun, and I think the commenters out there are going to absolutely love it, and I just, you know, I appreciate you for coming on, and I appreciate you all for watching. Seriously, the channel is really growing right now. By the time this goes up, I might be at 100 subscribers and, you know, 100,000 views, which is crazy. And I can't do any of this without you guys. I mean, you guys are the ones that are making this possible. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love each and every one of you. And we're going to get back to regular posting. So I will see you on
I just hope
Thursday.
when I get back to Indianapolis at night, I don't hear a knock at the door, and I open it up. There's a Santa Claus with a bullet hole. There's a clown. There's a bunch of crows.
A murder of crows.
There's Mr. Bookman from Seinfeld. There's an octopus that has half of its leg gone.
Oh, God.
There you go. There you go.
It'll just be Roman wearing this as a suit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And young Kyle, a shorter version of Kyle.
A shorter, younger version of Kyle.
I still am upset that you let out that yell in the middle of the woods.
Yep.
Thank you all.
All right. Love you
This
guys.
is the top comment.
Yep. It sure is. We're going to get back to regularly posting. So I will see you guys on Thursday for the next one and Sunday for the mashup. Love you. Bye.